Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei got Albion and master his powers when he was 8 years old, part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Hikori Takeo for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. My dream has come true, oh little brother of mine. Issei cheerily said as he slammed open the door to my room and sauntered in. I can finally experience youth. Despite knowing what happened, I pretended not to know as I put my laptop to sleep and faced my brother who was practically glowing. Oh really? What happened? An extremely cute girl asked me out today when I was heading home. Good for you. Of course that's where your priorities lie. I bet you would have turned her down if she didn't have any. Do you know what she said? He ignored me. Haidu-kun. I love you. Please go out with me. Kaya. I couldn't say no to such a beauty like her now, could I? So I, the great harem king, Issei Haidu, agreed to go out with her this Sunday. You don't even have a harem. Okay. Now calm down. You're creeping me out. I moved to my bed and pushed the study table chair towards him. Once he sat down, I started my questioning. Now, that's nice and all, but tell me this. Are you sure it wasn't a prank? Or a result of a penalty game that her friend set her up with? Yup. There was no one around us. I looked high and low but found no one. It was only the two of us on that bridge when the sun was setting, drap. Okay, I get it, no need to delve into poetry that you killed people with from the cringe. Hey. Anyway, Bakan, are you sure that the girl, sorry, what was her name again? Uma Mano. Right. How can you be so sure that the girl genuinely likes you? What do you mean? Well, here goes nothing. I'm gonna try and convince him not to go into the death trap that is the date this Sunday. Let's face it. You are a well-known pervert. In fact, you are the only one regarded as women's enemy out of the perverted trio. So tell me, what makes you think she genuinely asked you out? What makes you think she isn't luring you into a trap where at the end of your date she'll kill you? He gasped at that. Think about it. If she were to kill you, the supposed women's enemy, society would see her as a hero. And after you, your so-called friends will be next. She would be doing community service by getting rid of you and your friends. Impossible. Yuma-chan will never do that. An innocent maiden like her will never do something like that. Finally the annoying glow around him vanished. You're lying. Yuma-chan is too pure and sweet for that. She's also got amazing boobs. You're just jealous that I got a girl. Did she even give you her phone number? I interrupted him mid-rant. He paused and shakily pulled out his phone, looking through his contacts. When his soul started to leak out of his body, I realized that I hit the bullseye. As far as I can recall without resorting to my notebook of canon events, 15 years can be enough to forget many things about the source material. I don't have perfect memory, you know. Neither the LN manga nor the anime had ever shown if Rainer had given him her phone number. As she didn't. She didn't give me her phone number. Issei slumped over in despair as a dark gray cloud formed over his head and started raining. How could this happen to me? Cause you don't recognize a flag for what it truly is? Bakan, why don't you ask her at school tomorrow? But she's from a different school. Okay, there's the cue, now let's see if he uses his brain or not. Which school is she from? Surely it isn't that far from here. I didn't recognize her school uniform. Okay, stay quiet and hear me out, alright? He nodded. It should be pretty much obvious that you've had. I raised a hand to stop him from talking. Firstly, she is from a different school, one that is who knows how far away from our one. Secondly, she didn't give you her phone number, only asked that you go out on a date with her this Sunday. Thirdly, no one, absolutely no one says I love you when they confess to a stranger. Do you get where I'm going with this? Issei slowly nodded, eyes wide, skin pale and sweaty. She was pranking me. Good boy. I nodded. That's right. She's pranking you. For all you know, she wouldn't even show up on your date, making you waste your entire Sunday waiting for her, and then she would show up the next day. I paused, making him gulp as he leaned forward with trepidation in his eyes. The next day. I did the gendo posum. She will show up with a handsome man who is filthy rich and tell you, I'm sorry Haidu-kun, but I've found someone better than you, and by better, I mean this stud I'm hanging from the arm of. Get it? She will rub herself against him and deeply enjoy the despair you will be in, then walk away calling you things like filthy, pardon the language, tit-obsessed pig and many more. In the end, you'll be left alone desiring death. I stood up and placed a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry Bakan, but you've been played for. Issei paled, losing all his colors and turned into a husk. His soul left the body and tears rolled down the cheeks. So easy. I quickly grabbed the soul and shoved it back into the body and watched as his body inflated back into its proper shape, mass and volume before regaining all the colors. I patted his back in faux sympathy. Now, why don't you go take a bath, eat something light and turn in for the night? Maybe today's incident will be your imagination. Yeah, I'll just do that. Issei stood up and walked out of my room, for all accounts looking like a zombie. Good night. I wanted to retort that dinner wasn't served yet, but held my tongue. As he is now, he won't even respond. Once he left the room, with a small application of magic, I shut the door, sat down on my chair, opened the laptop, and got back to my digitized paperwork. Being the queen of Amayu comes with lots of responsibilities, one of them being paperwork. Fortunately for me, my paperwork is digitalized and thus it takes less time to complete compared to those that do it in the old-fashioned way. As for my king, it's none other than SERAFELL Leviathan, the Mayu in charge of foreign affairs. It's been 2 whole years that I've been her queen, yet not much is known about me in the underworld other than 3 facts. I'm the youngest among the masses queens. I'm decently talented in magic and CQC. I have a Longinus class sacred gear. You're evil, you know. No idea what you're talking about. She'll be dropping by here tomorrow morning, won't she? You know that, yet you crushed his hopes and dreams. Well, you know how I am, so you shouldn't be surprised that I did something like this. He will think that you were the one fooling him into believing that falsified truth out of jealousy for being single. He won't take you seriously anymore after that. That's the plan, Epis. I want him to think like that, because if the date ends up like it did in canon, and he's reincarnated into the Tomato's peerage, then he'll know better than to diss my warnings. What makes you so certain that the Tomato will reincarnate your foolish brother into her peerage? What if she doesn't? Then I'll start peeling the tomato. If ordinary people found out that I have a voice inside my head that I regularly talk to, they would think that I have schizophrenia. They would be concerned, creeped out and advise that I get myself treated, but then again, they would say that because of their lack of knowledge and awareness of the supernatural side of the world. While having a voice inside your head isn't a common thing in the supernatural world, it isn't exactly rare either. Some sacred gears have spirits or souls of a physically dead being sealed inside them, so the users of said sacred gears and the spirit soul inside it tend to communicate with each other. As far as I know at the current moment, there are only 5 sacred gears that allow this phenomenon to occur, all of them being Longinus class sacred gears. Going from top to bottom, first comes my Warlord Nightmare, a high-tier Longinus class sacred gear that houses the soul of an ancient being of unknown origins named Epis, the Extinction Queen. Similar to true Longinus, Warlord Nightmare can also kill gods in its initial form. However, contrary to canon, Warlord Nightmare is the first sacred gear that YHWH had created, and the strongest one at that. I awakened her some time after my 10th birthday and had been training under her in magic and the usage of her own powers since then. Unfortunately, I have yet to unlock the balance breaker even after 5 years, as according to Epis, it was far too strong for my body to handle, even though it was enhanced by the Queen Piece. But the thing is, there's a lot of things that I don't know about her. Her origins, history, and how she got sealed into the sacred gear are unknown to the entire world. Not even heaven has extensive records on the sacred gear and an extension, her. I had asked her about it, but she had made it clear that she did not wish to talk about them in a rather calm and kind manner, so I never brought it up, as she had also guaranteed that this secrecy won't be a hindrance of any kind in the future. Though she did mention one thing. King Gilgamesh was her previous host before me. But I digress. The next 4 are all mid-tier Longinus class sacred gears. The first 2 are boosted gear and divine dividing. Both of them house the souls of the heavenly dragons Drake and Albion respectively, thus the fire-breathing winged lizards can talk to their hosts and vice versa. After that is Regulus Nemia, containing the spirit of the Lion King, the Nemian lion Regulus. And finally there is Canis Lycaon, housing the spirit of King of Arcadia, Lycaon turned into a wolf. To my knowledge, all of these sacred gears are that which allows us to communicate with the beings sealed inside them by YHWH. Issei. Issei. Dinner is ready. As per my routine, I woke up at 5:30 am and started meditating. I expanded my senses across the entire Kuo town and checked up on everyone's kai to find out about any kind of anomalies. Having done that, I went to the front yard with a bokken in hand and started going through my kendo and Iaido katas, and after that I did the karate katas. Even though the karate I learned is simply meant for sports due to its non-lethal nature, under Epis and SERAFELL's Rook's guidance, I turned its nature to lethal. With my morning training done, I freshened up and donned the school uniform, except I wore the coat instead of the blazer. Eating something light for breakfast, by 7 am I left home with my large bento in hand and headed toward school. Now, classes start at 8:30 am, so I could come to school at around 8 am or later, but instead I arrive at school by 7:10 am. As for why? It's because I'm the disciplinary committee head, so I have to come to school earlier than the rest of the students at the student council, or Stuco as I like to call it in my head. The disciplinary committee is a branch of the Stuco with its office right beside the ladders. It is rather new as it was introduced this year with only 7 members so far. Me being the head, a second-year student as the vice, 1 third-year, 2 second-year, and 2 fellow first-year students as enforcers. Our job is pretty simple as there are only 3 tasks that we carry out. Detecting and examining some behavioral problems among students. Meeting with misbehaving students, i.e. perverted trio, and clarifying the negative effects of bad behavior on their life. Taking suitable action toward students' misconduct. Other than these 3, there is some light paperwork and weekly reports to the Stuco president. In the morning, I and my vice alongside Sona and Tsubaki stand on both sides of the school gates to regularly greet and check the students for objects they shouldn't be carrying such as magazines, fashion or otherwise. We also check if any students are violating the school dress code. If they do, they are made to stand by the school gates as punishment and then are forced to fix their dress right in front of everyone. No one repeated the same mistakes ever again, especially since it was someone as infamous as me in Kuo Town who enforced such a rule. The enforcers are made to patrol the school grounds before and after school starts and ends for any abnormality or catching anyone who sneaked past us in the morning or kicking out those not a part of the clubs hanging around after the end of the school. We are the ones to deal punishments to the perverted trio, with them often ending up being either the target practice for archery club, practice dummy for the karate or kendo club. Sometimes, I even make sure to keep them after school to clean the entire school. Issei had arrived late yesterday because of that. I made it a strict rule among everyone in the committee to arrive by 7:30 am and get to work because that's when the school gates for the students open. If they are to arrive late, they must let me or my vice know ahead of time. Once everyone arrives, we head out to our posts and carry out our duties and then go to our respective classes by 8:25 am. This has become my routine at school since the 3rd week of the school's first semester started. Issei. Hold you. It was when I was heading outside to eat my lunch that Issei called out to me. What is Bakan? Matching my gait with his, I led him to my lunch spot under the shadow of a large tree beside the old school building and sat down. Guess what? Opening my foot-tall bento divided into 3 compartments, I answered, I was right about Yuma Mono pulling a prank on you. Nope. She actually meant it when she said she loves me and wants to go out with me. Look. He pulled out his phone and showed me a number saved as Yuma-chan. She even gave me her phone number. Turns out she was so excited that she forgot to give me her phone number. Yeah, right. As if. More like the mere thought of having his contact info repulsed her to the point of pretending to forget about giving him her contact number. He glowed again just like last night and shot me a happy grin. In fact, she herself came to our house this morning to walk me here to school. So there's no way she's deceiving me. Hey, what's with that sad look on your face? Are you pitying me? He looked so proud of himself with this morning's incident that I couldn't help but pity him. He's gonna get killed and he doesn't even know it. Aren't you ashamed? Ignoring the inevitable, I decided to poke fun at him as I finished the food on the first compartment of the bento. Ashamed about what? And please drop the pitying look, it hurts. It's meant to dumbus. Bakan a man needed to be walked to school, escorted by a woman, where instead it should be the other way around. That's why I'm asking if you're ashamed of yourself or not. Hey. Her school is far away from here and since mine is closer, she decided to walk me here. I blankly stared at him as I drank the chicken soup from the vacuum flask. Even if her school is on the opposite end of Kuo Town from our school, it's you who should be escorting her. Although I have to admit that Rainer's done a smart thing. The fact that she showed up to escort him to school implants the faux illusion of how serious she is about dating him. And my brother is completely unaware of it. Give him a break. He doesn't even know that supernatural actually exists. For all accounts, he's just a normal human. One who had the unfortunate luck of being born with a sacred gear in him, a Longinus no less. Life isn't fair, you should know that well. Good job stating the obvious. Well, it's not like Epis is wrong. Heck, if I was in his place, completely unaware of supernatural, then I too would have been excited at the prospect of a date with a beautiful girl. But alas, this is not meant to be. Fine, I'll walk her to her school starting tomorrow. Issei rolled his eyes, pocketing his phone. Anyway, you should find yourself a girlfriend too, you know. I mean, if I can find one, then you can find one too, can't you? Especially with how popular you are. Maybe you should ask SERAFELL-san out. Bakan if you weren't a pervert of the highest caliber, then you would have been asked out a lot of times. Sure, you may look average. Ouch. But you have a good enough personality to cover up the lack of Bishounen vibes around you. If you weren't a pervert or at least didn't try to invade a girl's privacy, self-proclaim yourself as the harem king and declare your love of breasts loudly to the entire world, then maybe you would have had better friends than those 2 monkeys that you call friends. It's alright to be a pervert, heck, SERAFELL herself is a big pervert. Really? Yes, but only in private. It's fine to be a closet pervert, people will, at worst, laugh you off instead of hating you. Oh. I see. I see. Do you know? Okay, but what about you? Any plans on asking SERAFELL-san out? There's no need for that. Huh? You're already going out. The term going out is an understatement. I shot him a grin of utter smugness. You see, Bach and I and SERAFELL have a relationship that transcends the one of mortals like you. Ignoring Eppis's snort of amusement I continued, SERAFELL and I are connected to each other on a spiritual level. Everything I feel, she feels. And everything she feels, I feel too. Therefore, neither of us need to ask each other out, for we know what exactly our hearts want. All we do is merely act on our desires and love for each other. Sob sniffle. I paused and just stared at my brother who was on his knees. No wait, it's me who's standing in front of him in a T-pose crying rivers of tears as he looked up at me in awe, hands clasped as if praying to me. I ignored Eppis who was laughing her ass off from inside my soul at the scene and just asked, "Are you okay? This is too weird, even for me." Issei nodded and pulled out a handkerchief before blowing his nose with it. "Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed and awed by your passion. I never thought that kind of love exists outside of fiction. Harems exist only in fiction too at the current age, so don't think you can have one in real life. Unless the government does anything to increase the birth rate of our country. I hope I'll have the same relationship with you Uma-chan like you do with SERAFELL-san, if not, then better." "Yeah, no. You're gonna die on your first date and get traumatized. Good luck with that." "Yeah." The school bell then decided it was time and rang, ending the lunch break. "Well, Bach and I, don't get yourself into any kind of perverted shenanigans. You've got yourself a girlfriend, try to control yourself, okay? You don't need her image of you to be ruined, do you? Not like you have one to begin with, but oh well." "Yeah, you're right. See you later Issei." "Yeah. A relationship that transcends the one of mortals, huh? I'm not wrong though. Doesn't make it any less weird." I suppressed the urge to snort. What I told Issei about my relationship with SERAFELL is true to an extent. It's not that we are actually connected on a spiritual level, rather, it's just that we understand each other better than anyone else, better than Sona and Issei. There's no secret between the two of us, I know everything about her past, just like she knows the fact that I'm a reincarnated person from an alternate universe. Of course I didn't tell her about my condition right off the bat, but rather made her earn the trust to learn about it. As of now, our relationship hasn't been officialized, more so because of me than her. SERAFELL had wanted the entire world to know about our relationship, but I requested that she not reveal it now. I want to become a high-class devil, if not, an ultimate-class devil first, then reveal our relationship to the world. SERAFELL was reluctant in agreeing to it as she honestly couldn't care less if she, Amayu, had a low-class devil for a lover. What matters to her is that we love each other, status be damned. But I was insistent on it. I want to avoid unnecessary scrutiny from the elders of the Citri clan and the old devils, for that I need to prove my strength to them, and Takeo is the perfect scapegoat for that. I've trained with Eppis and SERAFELL a lot. Neither of them held back against me and went all out from the beginning, so I'm confident I can take Takeo head on and win. Also, it helps that killing him increases the chances of my promotion to ultimate class devil. So there's that. Oh well, if things go according to the plan, then everything will be fine. But then again, I just might tempt Murphy. "Hey Issei, got a moment?" I blinked twice and looked up from my place on the couch of the living room at Issei who looked quite serious and bothered with something. "Yeah, sure, what's up? Can we go to your room? It's best if we talk there." He looked at the kitchen where mom and dad were washing the dishes. "Is it about you, Uma? Why can't we talk here?" Nevertheless, I shrugged and got up. "Sure." I started heading upwards to my room and Issei followed me in. Like last night, I sat down on the bed and he took the chair. Seeing as whatever Issei wants to talk about seems to be a serious matter, I activated the sound blocking barriers to give him more privacy. "Okay, what's up? You look constipated. You know who Ria's Gremory is, right?" I nodded, feeling like I know where he is going with this. "Well, how do I say this without sounding stupid?" He scratched his head and looked to the side. Did he really plan on talking to me about this without a sound plan? "Why don't you start from the beginning?" "Yeah, let's do that." Issei took a moment to prepare himself and nodded. After classes ended, that pretty boy Kiba came to my class and told me to come with him because his club president Gremory-senpai wanted to talk with me. Oh ho. So she's making her move now instead of later when this doofus would die. Then. He took me to the old school building and led me to the occult research club where Gremory-senpai and her boobs were waiting for me. I slapped him. Focus. Alright. So, she then told me weird voodoo stuff like her being a devil and whatnot. She told me she could make my dream come true and make me a harem king, but that it would take time. All I would have to do is become a part of her family that she calls her peerage. Yeah, that, and I have to become a devil too. He snapped his fingers. Also, she told me that there's this sacred gear thingy in me that could make me powerful. What did you do? I told her to give me some time to think about it. I blinked. Wow, scenario number 3 came true in this timeline, huh? And to think he didn't accept the offer. Maybe he has enough sense to not ditch his girlfriend for a harem. Could be possible. So why didn't you accept it? I'm sure she presented some proof to validate her claims. If she claimed that she can make you a harem king, then why didn't you jump at the golden opportunity? Knowing you, this is rather strange. He slumped over and looked disturbed. Yeah, she did provide me with proof. He pointed to his back. Bat wings popped out of her back. Bat wings. Himejima-senpai also showed me that magic exists. Magic. And that Kiba bastard created a sword out of thin air. Then he started crying abruptly. Kaneko-chan outright ignored me. What should I do, Issei? Oh, die in a ditch. Is what I want to say, but who knows. He might even end up doing it. So? Why are you talking to me about this? I'm pretty sure Gremory-senpai told you to keep these things a secret. I narrowed my eyes on him. Unless she also wants me to be in this peerage of hers. Well, it's true that she told me to keep these a secret, but you always told me to think things through, right? Contracts, offers, business deals and stuff are always more than they appear to be. That's what you beat into my skull, so I thought I would think this through. He grabbed his head and grimaced. But thinking all this stuff hurt my head, so I thought I'd talk it out with you, since you're the smarter one of the two of us. Glad to see my lessons are paying off. You do know that everything you're talking about sounds like someone with schizophrenia or something would say. Yeah, I know, but you're the one who always talked about possibilities. So why don't you think of this as a possibility? I sighed. What to do? To reveal the truth or not to? Decisions on one hand, I want to make my debut in style by defeating Kakebiel, on the other hand, I'm getting tired of all this hiding. Maybe I should, you know what? Issei. Are you there? Akan remember what I told you the next day of my 13th birthday? Issei scrunched up his face and nodded. Yeah, you quoted Dio and said that you were abandoning your humanity. Now that I think about it, what did you mean by that? It's unfortunate that he can't connect the dots, but it's not like it matters. I meant it in a literal sense. I stand up and spread my arms to the sides pointed diagonally downward. More like the pose Golden Frieza did upon his transformation. You see. Whip. Issei gawked and fell out of his chair at the sight of my 6 bat wings. Wah. I have become a devil on the night of my 13th birthday. Issei. Are you there? Akan remember what I told you the next day of my 13th birthday? Issei scrunched up his face and nodded. Yeah, you quoted Dio and said that you were abandoning your humanity. Now that I think about it, what did you mean by that? It's unfortunate that he can't connect the dots, but it's not like it matters. I meant it in a literal sense. I stand up and spread my arms to the sides pointed diagonally downward. More like the pose Golden Frieza did upon his transformation. You see. Whip. Issei gawked and fell out of his chair at the sight of my 6 bat wings. Wah. I have become a devil on the night of my 13th birthday. Chapter 2. Shattered Worldview. Issei you how when? Seeing the sheer shock on Issei's face, I couldn't help but chuckle. Going by the sequence of your questions, yes, it is I, Issei, your younger brother. I became a devil on the night of my 13th birthday. I flapped my 6 bat wings. How did I become a devil? Now that's something I'd rather you personally experience than hear from me. Of course, that is, if you're willing to become a devil. Issei didn't reply, only the goldfish impression. I think you broke him. I snapped my fingers before his face and he jolted in place. Wah, he shook his head and stood up. Issei, what the hell, I'm confused. I nodded. Understandable. Sit down and let me explain everything. He sat down and paid close attention to me. I retracted my wings and sat down on the bed. Before that, tell me, what exactly did Gremory-senpai tell you? Issei likely wanted to ask a question, but a sharp look from me had him flinching and explaining, as she told me that devils, angels and fallen angels exist. There was this war that happened a long time ago between them, which ended in a tie. The devils suffered a tremendous loss in which they lost their 4 satans, so one of the new satans decided to come up with the evil P system to increase their population, and with this system the devils can reincarnate anyone, as long as they aren't a god, into one of their kind. Only high-class devils can create these peerages. And reincarnated devils start off as low-class devils and have to work a lot to become a high-class devil, only then do they get peerages of their own. That's about it. I nodded. Tomatoes more competent than I took her for. Alright, let me expand on the evil P system. Remember chess? Yeah, you forced me to play it many times. To increase your brain power, you doofus. Right. The evil piece system takes after it. There are 16 members in a peerage. A king, a queen, 2 knights, rooks and bishops, and finally 8 pawns. The value of each piece is based on the number of pawns. Queen is equal to 9 pawns, possessing all the characteristics of rooks, knights, and bishops, making them the most balanced and the most powerful piece. In a peerage, they are the second in command. Rooks are worth 5 pawns. Rooks specialize in high offensive and defensive power but low speed. I won't tell him about castling now, he won't get it. Bishops are worth 3 pawns. Any species except gods revived with this piece gets a boost to their reservoir of demonic power and an increased affinity towards magic. Similar to bishops, knights are worth 3 pawns as well. The knights get a boost in speed and mobility, but have low defense, making them weak to strong attacks. If their legs are injured, then their mobility will be gone. Finally, pawns are worth 1 each. Pawns have the ability to promote to any piece but the king, as long as they are in enemy territory like the church, or have their king's permission. Any questions? Yeah. What piece are you? The queen. Issei cracked a smile. The queen. Really? I just rolled my eyes and moved to the next topic. Next up is your sacred gear. Oh yeah, Gremory-senpai did say that. Yeah, but that aside, let's talk about the next matter. Your sacred gear. Oh right, that too. Gremory-senpai told me that it's something God made to create miracles. She told me that I have one too. What exactly are they? The sacred gear is also known as God's artifacts. They are items with powerful abilities bestowed upon humans by the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible created the sacred gears as part of his system to enact miracles on earth. These sacred gears are irregular powers bestowed to certain humans. For example, most people whose names are recorded in history are said to be sacred gear possessors. Hence they use the power of their sacred gears to write their names in history. There are many people that possess sacred gears and thus play a very important role in the world. Any questions up until this point? Not really. Every sacred gears has something that is called the forbidden move. It is however commonly known as balance breaker. It's a state, form or transformation that allows the full powers of a sacred gear to be released through evolution. They are mostly triggered by high emotions combined with a change in heart or spirit of the wielder. Either that or a life-threatening situation or extreme physical conditioning and training. What exactly do you mean by a change in heart? For example, in Shonen anime you watch the protagonist defeat the villain, saving the day. But they usually let the villain live, giving them a second chance. Now, because they are sticking true to their ideals, they would be unable to attain the balance breaker, and no, that power of friendship power-up doesn't work in real life. Now, if they want to achieve the balance breaker, they must throw aside their ideals, switch from defeat to kill. If they can't, then only when their friends and family are targeted, they will get temporary access to an incomplete balance breaker. The safest but longest way to attain balance breaker is through extreme physical conditioning and training. But why is it called balance breaker? Can't it be called something like ascension or something? They are called that because even the weakest and most useless sacred gear can change the tides of a battle through their full powers. That way, they upset the balance that's set on this world. Seeing the wonder and amazement on his face makes me question if this is how Azazel feels when he's nerding out about sacred gears to the wielders. If so, then damn does it feel good. Damn, Issei whistled impressively. Yep. Now what? There's more. Out of all the sacred gears, there are 14 that are in a league entirely on their own. They are classed as longinus and have the ability to kill gods. For real? Yep. Mind you, no one has actually killed a god yet, but the sacred gears hold the power to kill them. Whoa. Now let's find out your sacred gear. If you're lucky, then you might end up with a longinus. Issei nodded. Okay, what do I do? Surrounding a small perimeter around the two of us with a barrier to prevent anyone from finding out what we are doing, I ordered Issei, stand up. Huh? Why do I need to stand up? Stand up. Okay, sheesh, now what? Raise a hand. He raised his left hand. Now, close your eyes and imagine the strongest thing that comes to mind. The strongest thing. Son Goku from Dragon Ball. I grinned. Now imagine him in a particular pose where he looks the strongest. Issei's body twitched as if he was going to do that pose, but held back. Now lower your arm and mimic the pose of that person. You have to imagine it strongly, okay? Don't hold back. Do I have to? Do you want to find out your sacred gear or not? Fine, he took the pose and carried out the entire thing. Kamehameha. Ha. Now open your eyes. In this place, which is filled with mana, the sacred gear will appear more easily. Okay, Issei slowly opened his eyes. Flash. And white wings with blue glass panels popped out of his back. Ah, right. Vali is the Red Dragon Emperor in this timeline. Whoa. Issei stumbled forward and looked over his shoulder, his face settling into a deadpan. Really? Wings. What will they do? Let me fly? They look like they will break anytime soon. Hey, don't diss them so soon. Those aren't any wings, they are called the White Dragon Emperor's light wings and are commonly known as divine dividing. They house the soul of the vanishing dragon, Albion sealed inside it. Dragon? You mean these wings are just a jail for a dragon's soul? I will punch you. He shut up. Yes, it is a jail for a dragon's soul, blame God for that, but that doesn't mean it's useless. Sure you can fly with it, but that's not all there is to it. What does it do? Divine Dividing is a mid-tier Longinus class sacred gear. It divides your opponent's power by a factor of 2 every 10 seconds, however, you can't divide their power without making contact first. Depending on your physical condition you can perform only a limited number of divides, as more than that would destroy your body. Also, there's a 10-second cooldown between each divide, something that you'll have to get used to and get rid of on balance breaker. Issei's mood did a complete 180. It's a Longinus. Yup, and the dragon that it houses the soul of isn't any ordinary dragon. What do you mean? Let me tell you a tale that you must know as its user. The tale? The history behind divine dividing. Once upon a time, there were 2 dragons. They both had unrivaled power that put them in a league entirely of their own. They were called the Heavenly Dragons. One was Albion Gwyber, the Vanishing Dragon, the White Dragon Emperor, and the Dragon of Supremacy. The other was Drake Gotch, the Welsh Dragon, the Red Dragon Emperor, and the Dragon of Domination. Both of them held so much power that only a handful of beings could dream of matching them. Every single gods and goddesses feared them, for the 2 had slayed many of their kind from ancient times and always left their mark wherever they went. Drake and Albion were considered rivals of each other but held so much hatred and hostility towards each other that whenever they would cross paths with each other, they would battle and try to defeat each other. Their battles were so intense that they would rage on for days on end, leaving only utter destruction and ruins in their wake. One time they battled across the entire world, eventually stumbling into the middle of another war between 3 sub-factions. The 2 dragons paid no mind to the ongoing war and kept on battling each other, taking countless lives in the process. The resulting destruction caused by their battle was so extreme that the war between the 3 sub-factions was put on ceasefire, and the leaders, the 4 Satans, the God of Bible and the fallen angel cadres, focused on defeating the 2 heavenly dragons, no matter how low their chances at victory were. In the end, the 4 Satans sacrificed themselves to defeat the dragons, and the God of Bible destroyed their bodies, before sealing their souls into the sacred gears that would later be known as the Divine Dividing and the Boosted Gear. But even then, the battle between the 2 heavenly dragons did not end. Enraged at God for sealing their souls into sacred gears made for humans, they forced their human hosts to battle each other to settle the scores. Sometimes Albion's host would win and sometimes Drake. This has gone on for centuries and to this day is still carried on. Because of these 2 dragons and their selfishness, the lives of their hosts would be ruined and thus be one of constant struggle, pain and tragedy, often being the reason for the deaths of their friends and family. And you will face the same fate unless you grow strong enough to flip the bird. Issei summed up his situation with only one word. Shit. Shit indeed. Issei stayed quiet for some time before groaning. I shouldn't have left the dojo. You shouldn't have. Ugh. Power attracts power Bak and Ai. Both in the form of allies and enemies. You, my brother, have the power to upset the balance of the world. Now that you have awakened your sacred gear, factions from all around the world will come for you, either for recruitment or elimination. So? What will you do? I don't know. What do you think I should do? There are 3 options I can give you at the moment. I shrugged and raised my finger. First option is to stay human and master divine dividing, then attain the balance breaker and master it. Grow stronger. Fight your rival, the Red Dragon Emperor and win. I raised another finger. Second option is to become a dragon. Talk to Albion, make a deal with him. Give him your human body, in exchange he will craft you a stronger body of a dragon. That will make mastering divine diving and its balance breaker a lot easier since the body will be crafted from his own flesh and blood. Grow stronger. Fight your rival and win. I raised a third finger. Finally, ally yourself to a faction. Be it the devils, the angels or the fallen angels, any will do. Heck, you can even ally yourself to factions outside of them, like the Norse, Shinto, Olympus, and the Celts. There are so many factions out there for you to ally yourself to. Longinus users like yourself are extremely valuable to them, so you can go and offer them an alliance. You can also apply the second option to this one, and once again, grow stronger. Fight your rival and win. Issei took a deep breath and tried to relax. So? What are you gonna do? Issei looked up at the sky and thought before answering. I'll become a devil. He looked down at me and added, that way I can get myself a harem as well as training to become strong enough to defeat my rival. Good. Where are we headed so late at night? Issei asked, tugging at the cloak I made him wear. Also, what's with this cloak? Why am I the only one wearing this? Where did you get this? Hush now. You'll get your answers in due time. Just keep quiet and follow me. I scolded him as I led him towards the abandoned church, earning a frown. Won't Mom and Dad be pissed if they find out that we're out of the house at freaking 1 a.m? You worry too much. What they don't know won't hurt them. Issei pursues him in worry before shaking his head. We're here. I say, stopping before the church where I can sense the many energy signatures of exorcists and fallen angels. The church? Yeah. Isn't the church supposed to be a place where devils can't enter or get anywhere close to? Not if they are abandoned. The one in Kuo is abandoned, and currently, fallen angels and a bunch of criminals are residing in it. Kuo town is the territory of devils, and the fact that fallen angels are here without permission means that they are trespassing. Which means, if they refuse to leave, then they will die. All I'm doing is cleaning up a mess that the current territory overseer of Kuo is supposed to do. Issei stopped in his tracks. Hold on. How can you speak so lightly about killing them? Fortunately, before his shriek could alert the soon-to-be dead idiots, I put up a silencing barrier around us. Then I slapped the shrieking Issei, making him shut up and hold his glowing red cheek in pain. Are we calm? Issei whimpered and nodded. We calm. Good. I tapped the cloak and Issei turned invisible, completely vanishing from my senses. Grim. Your job will be to protect Bak and Ai by putting up a silencing and protective barrier around the two of you. Understood? Yes. Good. I cracked my fingers and rolled my arms. Now then I raised my right leg, pumped it full of Kai to strengthen it, and used the rook piece straight in the queen piece to Spartan kick the doors, sending them flying off the hinges, crashing through several of the rogue exorcists, and crushing several underneath its weight, creating a loud squelch and splat sound. Hello? Anyone home? I strolled in with a wide grin plastered on my face, ignoring how the rats scrambled to get their bearings. In the distance I can see the doors over a puddle of blood and some limbs sticking out from underneath them. Who are you? What the? Call the boss lady. They are dead. Issei Pav. I stared dumbly at the display of strength that Issei just showed. He kicked the doors off of their hinges. What the, since when could he do that? I knew he was strong, but this is too much. And what was that about in case a fight breaks out again? Ah, such panic never ceases to amuse me. How can he comment so nonchalantly when those people all pointed guns and LIGHTSABERS at him? And what does he mean by never ceases to amuse me? How many times has he done this? What do you want, brat? Who? Me? I only want to talk to your fallen angel boss. Where are they? Let's go stand in a corner. The giant talking panther nudged me, and I quickly entered the church, going to the immediate corner on the left side of where the doors were. Huh? Why should we tell you where she is? Hey. He just invaded our place, didn't he? Let's kill him. Oh shit. Worry not. The talking panth Grim spoke up. These fools amount to nothing for master. Think of them as those unimportant mob characters or fodders if you will. Oh. Issei suddenly cackled like a villain. Ha ha ha. You? A bunch of pitiful and sad excuses for human beings. Kill me? How funny. I don't think it's wise to piss them off, Issei. There's like 40 of them here. If you don't want to die, then call your boss. On second thought, don't call her. I'll find her myself. Instead, come and attack me. Giving your heads to the Vatican will get me some decent cash. What now? GRRR. Don't be cocky, brat. I'll kill you. I tensed as criminal number 1 rushed at Issei with a lightsaber in hand. Wrong choice. Die. Criminal number 1 got close to Issei and slashed at him, only for the lightsaber to be stopped dead with a single finger by Issei. Wah. Issei flashed an innocent smile that was anything but innocent. As I said, wrong choice. What happened next almost made me puke my guts out as the dude's head simply flew off of his shoulders right after Issei said his part. The dude's body fell to the ground and Issei casually kicked it aside. So? Who's next on the death row? Bet him. Criminal number 2 yelled and charged at Issei with several others following his lead. Half of the criminals stayed in the back and pointed their guns at him, while the rest rushed at him with their lightsabers. All of you then? Okay, don't worry, it will be over in a second. He just waved his hand at the incoming dudes and… Freeze. My jaw hit the ground as I stared at the dudes that were turned into ice statues. Since when can Issei do something like this? And if he can do something like this with just a wave of his hand, then what else can he do? How long has he been capable of doing this? How strong is he? Issei Haidu. I blinked and looked at the direction of the new voice, only to salivate and push down an erection, then stare dumbly at the woman, who was not only hot as hell wearing a BDSM gear, but also had black feathered wings. Wait, why does she look so familiar? Ah, Yuma Amano, excuse me. Nice of you to finally join me. Eh? What? That woman is Yuma-chan. Haha, Issei is joking, isn't he? There's no way Yuma-chan is a black-winged angel, right? The woman cringed. Please don't call me that. My name is Rainer, not Yuma Amano. Ah. Issei Pav. And judging by what you've done, am I safe in assuming that you're a magician? I shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. But that's not important. What's important is that you will answer my questions. And if I don't? I smiled coldly at her. You will die. Rainer looked at the ice statues and scoffed. Just because you froze a bunch of lowly humans doesn't mean you can take on a fallen angel of my caliber. Besides, she snapped her fingers and 3 more fallen angels came out from the basement. There's 4 of us, and you're alone. Seeing the theatrics, I chuckled. So what if there's 4 of you? Not even 100 of you will be enough to make me sweat. Don't be a cocky brat. I ignored the fedora man and his unoriginal NPC-like words and got straight to the point. What are your intentions with my brother? I know you asked him out yesterday and plan on going on a date this Sunday. But what I want to know is, what is your true plan? HMPH. I guess I can tell you that. I plan on killing him at the end of the date. He has sacred gear that makes him a threat to us, so the higher-up sent me and my group to get rid of him. You plan to get rid of a human completely unaware of the supernatural world simply because his sacred gear makes him a threat. She nodded. Okay. Huh? Ignoring their confusion, I proceeded to ask another question. Who is the higher-up that wanted to get rid of him? It was the fedora man who answered. Obviously Azazel-sama was an ignorant fool. Do you really expect me to believe that? I asked Rainer despite her not answering me. Azazel is known to get a hard-on every time a sacred gear's name floats around him. He would never send anyone to kill a sacred gear user, especially one who is completely unaware of the supernatural. Moreover, this is a devil's territory, specifically the territories of the siblings of the current Lucifer and Leviathan. Azazel isn't an idiot, sending a bunch of his pet crows here, let alone ordering them to kill a sacred gear user instead of recruiting them, is the height of idiocy and foolishness. The only one who would do this is the warmonger Takeo. Am I wrong? You talk like you know him better than us, brat. And we're not crows. The fact that you're not denying it means that I'm correct. Takeo probably told you that doing this will get you promoted, so you agreed like the brain-dead idiots you lot are. I stared at them for several seconds before sighing in pity. I'm giving you 2 options. First is to leave this place and I'll pretend that you never came here. The second option is rather simple. I shot them a bloodthirsty grin. I'll kill you. Decide quickly. You brat. Who do you think you are? I will kill you. Fedora man formed a blue light spear and dived down at me. Just as he was about to slash me with it, I glared at him and he flew back crashing into the ice statues, shattering them into icy mist. Don't seek. Death it is. Why, how dare you? I jumped to the height of the blonde gothic lowly fallen angel and punched her hard enough to crush her skull. I backflipped midair and stomped the blue-haired whore fallen angel, crushing her spine from the blow as she crashed to the ground, creating a small crater around her. I hovered in the air and crossed my arms, raising an eyebrow at Rainer who was gritting her teeth. Well, what will you do? Leave or die? Like hell. If I go back now then Azazel-sama will get pissed at me. I leered at her. And you will die if you stay here. Leave. It's fine. She flew down and lifted the blue-haired half-dead whore fallen angel and sent me one last glare before leaving. I snorted and floated down looking at the exit of the church where the Grimoire peerage stood staring at me. Why the heck are you people wearing pajamas? Why did you become a devil, Issei? Issei asked as we left home heading towards the Orc. Last night, I and Tomato agreed to meet up at the Orc today in the afternoon to discuss last night's incident. Issei didn't even notice their arrival, apparently too shocked to learn that his first girlfriend was a fallen angel sent to kill him. He had been in a daze the entire walk home and promptly fell asleep once I dropped him in his room. He woke up late this morning and I reminded him about the meeting. He wore a red full-sleeve button-up shirt under a black vest, blue jeans and brown shoes. I wore a white full-sleeve button-up shirt under a blue vest, cream-colored gabardine pants and white slip-on shoes. Both of us had gold scarves wrapped around our necks. Why did I become a devil, you ask? I tapped my chin. There are a few reasons. First and foremost being the fact that I love SERAFELL. She's a devil, by the way. She reincarnated me into a devil as her queen. Cool. I huffed at Issei's bland reply. I love SERAFELL, so I want to be by her side my entire life. As a human, I'll live for a century if I'm lucky, but as a devil, I can live on for tens of millennia. Secondly, I want to protect my family. As a human, I'll be weak in power scale, but as a devil, I can grow limitlessly. The more power I have, the more respect, admiration, fear and allies I'll attract. That way, idiots will know better than to mess with what's mine. You've got a hero complex. So did you and Irina. I rolled my eyes. I wouldn't call myself a hero, but more of an anti-hero. The third is to become a Mau. A Mau? Really? Yup. Reincarnated devils like me are looked down upon in the underworld by the nobles. I want to get rid of that discrimination by becoming a Mau. For that I want to succeed SERAFELL as the next Leviathan. Of course she would be a Mau. He grumbled sourly. Then why does she wear a magical girl's outfit? She has a TV show in the underworld where she stars as the magical girl. If I succeed her as the next Leviathan, then she won't have to divide her time between her duties as a Mau and her show. All in all, I want to make things easier for her. Then there's the fact that I want her to be proud of me. If I succeed her as the next Leviathan, then I will be her equal in status and power. I shrugged and stretched my arms. There you go, those are the reasons I became a devil. What about harem? High-class devils and above are allowed to have harems. So if you become a devil and climb your way up to the rank of a high-class devil, then you too can get yourself a harem. I wasn't talking about myself. I know. I'm more of a monogamous person than a polygamous one. I don't believe in being able to love multiple girls equally, believing otherwise is just naive. That's not true. In an anime, manga. Those are fantasy and fiction. Not reality. Modern-day human society will not allow someone to have a harem. If you're that desperate for a harem to unconditionally love you, then become a devil. Harems are a common thing in the underworld after all. Once I become a Mau, I'll marry SERAFELL and have a large family. Issei stared at me for a few seconds before sighing with a fond smile on his face. You really love her, don't you? You've even thought out your entire future. Yep. Upon reaching the school I followed Issei to the orc. Now let's face the music. Yeah, he knocked on the door thrice and it was opened by Yudo. Good afternoon Issei-kun, Issei-kun. Glad to see you made it. Oh, it's you. Issei deadpanned, making Yudo awkwardly smile. Hey Akiba-senpai. I waved at the pretty boy. Come in and take a seat on the couch. Pardon the intrusion. I pushed Issei inside the room and sat down beside Kaneko, exchanging nods with her. Yudo went and stood by the window. Look who's here. Hey Himejima-senpai. I cheerily waved at the sadomasochist as she brought a tray of tea and snacks for us. Thanks for the hospitality. You you're quite polite, aren't you? I only grinned at her and took a sip of tea. The tea is great Himejima-senpai. Can you teach me sometime how to brew tea as good as yours? Why thank you. I will be more than glad to teach you, and please call me Akeno. If you say so. Issei's eyebrow twitched in annoyance as the two of us openly flirted in front of him. Good afternoon Ice-kun, Issei-kun. I didn't expect you to come earlier. Good afternoon to you too, Gremory-senpai. As for coming early. Figured we all could go out for lunch after talking things out. Ria sat down on her chair behind the desk and nodded. I guess we could. Great. Aren't you the charming one? If you go on like this I'm afraid I might fall for you. I shrugged. So I've been told. Can we start the meeting please? Issei gritted out with a vein throbbing on his temple. Ria's chuckled. Very well. Let us start. She pressed a hand over her chest, drawing Issei's eyes to her breasts. I am Ria's Gremory, heiress of the House Gremory, king of the peerage, and the president of the Occult Research Club. A pleasure to meet you. I am Akeno Himejima, the queen of Ria's Gremory and the vice president of the Occult Research Club. A pleasure to meet you. Issei shuddered at her tone even though it was mostly directed at me. Kaneko Tauju nibble rook. Oh look at her. She's so adorable. I want to squish her so badly. Udo Kiba, knight of Ria's Gremory. An honor to meet you. Can't say the same for me, Issei grumbled. I am Issei Haidu, from class 2C. Nice to meet you all. You forgot the leader of perverted trio and self-proclaimed harem king Bakan Ai. Oh shut it. We all chuckled before I stood up. I am Issei Haidu, disciplinary committee head, from class 1C, and I smiled widely at them, blinding Issei with the shine of my teeth. Whip. I brought out my 8 wings and flapped them before bowing with a hand across my chest. The queen of SERAFELL Leviathan. A pleasure to meet you all. The entire Gremory peerage stared dumbly at me with their mouths open wide. Huh? So let me get this straight. Tomato said as she stared at me with an amused smile on her face, her elbows propped up on the table and fingers of both hands interlocked with each other's. You crossed paths with the Mao Leviathan in Kyoto when you were 11. Yep. She had sensed your vast back then mana reserves and sacred gear and then had stalked you for an entire year until jumping into a fight between you and a stray devil to save the day so to speak. She admitted all these herself. Proudly too. She then took you under her, pardon the pun, wings, and had been helping you develop your own brand of magic. Correct? Then a year later, on the night of your birthday, she offered you to be her queen. It was a mutation piece. Since then, you've cranked up your training so that you don't tarnish her reputation. Yep. I see. You have my condolences. You know it's kinda funny how Sona had asked the same things you did now over 6 months ago. Tomato took a sip of her 5th cup of tea and raised an eyebrow, her aquamarine eyes glinting in amusement from Sona's suffering. Is that why she chose you to be the disciplinary committee head? I was the one who suggested it. I see. It took me half an hour to summarize my story about how I became SERAFELL's queen. Rias and Akeno were both amused with SERAFELL's actions. Kaneko paid half attention to me and half attention to her snacks. Yudo looked like he wanted to pity my luck, but at the same time he wanted to sympathize with me, except he didn't know how. What about you, Ice-kun? Tomato's eye twitched, Akeno chuckled, and Kaneko shot a disgusted look at him. Issei is slumped over the armrest of the couch, asleep and snoring. I pointed a finger and shot a bolt of lightning at him. Ouch. Issei yelped awake and glared at me. What was that for? Ria-senpai asked you something. Oh. Sorry about that, Gremory-senpai. I fell asleep. Issei nervously said, rubbing the back of his head. Tomato nodded, taking another sip of tea from her 5th cup. It's okay. Have you decided on whether you will become a devil or not? Yep. I talked with Issei on the matter and he told me that the only way I can get myself a harem is by becoming a devil. I don't care how long it takes, I will have a harem. Issei's proud declaration was met with chuckles from Rias and Akeno, a disgusted look from Kaneko and ignorance from Yudo. Very well. Ice-kun, please lie down on the couch. Tomato said, getting off of her seat. Once Issei lay down, Tomato brought out a box from a magic circle and opened it. Which piece will you use? Tomato pulled out a pawn piece and placed it on Issei's chest. It didn't glow. Tomato placed another one with the same result. She repeated it 5 more times before they all started glowing together. 7 pawns. What is his sacred gear? A Longinus. Tomato mumbled to herself. I suggest you put limiters on 5 of the 7 pawns. The power boost from all 7 at once will explode him. I'll die. Very well. A crimson glow surrounded Tomato. I order you, Issei Haidu, in my name Rias Gremory. Shed your human skin and don the one of my kin. Be delighted, for you will be resurrected as a devil, into my pawn. The pieces glowed and sunk into Issei's chest. In canon, Issei had taken 8 pawns to be resurrected from the dead when he had the boosted gear. In this timeline, he took 7 instead of 8 with divine dividing. Is it because he was alive that he required 7, or is it because divine dividing is easier to master? Well, not like it matters. This is Issei we are talking about, plot armor is his trump card. Huh? I don't feel anything different. You will. In daylight, you will feel weak. In the night you'll become stronger and all of your senses will be enhanced. That's so. It will take about a week to adjust. I pipe in. Well, it took me a week to adjust. It might be more for you. This week's gonna be a pain, huh? Yup. I turned to Tomato. Ria-senpai. Leave his training to me. He'll be strong in no time. You just want an excuse to beat me up, don't you? By the way, he's already awakened his sacred gear last night with my help. I ignored him. Tomato crossed her arms under her tomatoes, making Issei drool. Really? I'm sure it is a powerful sacred gear if he took 7 pawns to turn. I smiled up at her. 2 words. Ria-senpai. I turned Issei around and slapped his back, sending a pulse of demonic power into his spine, making him yelp. Hey. 2 metal white wings with blue glass panels popped out. Divine dividing. Tomato's eyes brightened and a grin threatened to split her face in 2. She threw her arms up and cheered. Ha 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 ha. A Longinus. Ha. Take that, Sona. Anyway, Ria-senpai. Yes. Let's make a schedule for Bacchanai, okay? I'll deal with his training and you'll teach him his duties as a devil. I see. Do you have something in mind? Yep. Hey. Don't I get a say in the matter? I turned to Issei and raised an eyebrow. Do you want a harem or not? Of course I do. But why? Then you'll train. If you're not strong then you're worth less than a pebble. I may not approve of a harem, but that doesn't mean I won't help you attain one. Really? I grinned at him. Don't think for a moment that it'd be easy. Because, you've already walked into hell. Ria snapped her fingers at me. Emiya, right. Weeb spotted. I winked at her. Yup. That's hell you're walking into. Should have said that before you turned him. Ria's nodded. You're right. It would have been funnier if you did. We can't have everything now, can we? Sadly we can't. Tomato perked up as if an idea just came to her. Hey. Do you think Yudo can pull an UPW? A reality marble. Maybe if he really wants it as his balance breaker, but not out of it. But he can probably do the flying swords and stuff. Both of us then turned our heads towards Udo, making him tense. But you. Hey, want me to deal with him too? What? Poor dude looks scared. I'd be glad if you would. Tomato and I shook our hands. So I have two devils to train. You were going to say torture you weren't you? That's right Issei-kun. When can you start? Hey. How about 4 days a week sound? Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Do you have a training ground to use? There's a villa atop a mountain that you can use. Will you start tomorrow? I turned to Udo. What do you think? I didn't ask Issei because he'd be sure to whine and reduce the 4 days of training to 3, if not 2. Udo awkwardly laughed. Hahaha, how do I say this? I crossed my arms over my chest and raised an eyebrow. I'll have you know I'm the 2-time national kendo and karate champion. So you shouldn't have any problem with the training, should you? Besides, it's not like I'm going to teach you how to use a sword from scratch. No, I'll teach you new tricks that you can use with your sword birth in the raiding games in the future. Knew my ass. You're just ripping off Emiya and Gilgamesh. And? Though SERAFELL was hard to dominate, but then again, she is a Mao. Anyway, all of you change into outdoor clothing. You shouldn't wear a school uniform all the time, you know. No, seriously, why are they wearing school uniforms on a weekend? Only Issei and I aren't wearing the school uniform. What's wrong with the school uniform? Tomato asked in confusion. People will think you have a school uniform fetish if you walk around in public wearing a school uniform on a weekend. Ah. Oh. And what if I told you I have that fetish? Maybe the naughty schoolgirl who didn't do her homework. You're just begging for another one right there, Akeno. I turned around with my arms behind me and leaned towards Akeno. In that case, I can be the teacher who bends you over a desk and, pardon the language, you're silly as punishment for not doing the homework. Ara. Akeno looked genuinely surprised. I grinned viciously and tapped her cheek, making her shudder submissively. That's what I thought. I narrowed my eyes, grasping her chin with my thumb and index finger. I pulled her down to my level before whispering into her ears, now, how about you change here right in front of me? Make it a feast for my eyes, why don't you? Akeno shuddered again and her legs trembled. Ha. Just kidding. I let her go and twirled around before standing beside an odd tomato. I wouldn't ask something like that of you without getting to know you better and going on a date or two. Not like I plan to. SERAFELL is enough. Akeno quickly recovered and pouted. That was rude of you, Issei-kun. You shouldn't give hope to a pure maiden like me and take it away the next instant. Pure maiden my ass. Like I said, if you want me to do them to you, then we'll have to know more about each other than what we do at the moment. Become more than senpai cowhai, and for that to happen, dates exist. I replied confidently. Ara. She cupped her cheek and looked at me with eyes that had desire written on them. Are you asking me out on a date? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Akeno only smiled. SOB sniffle. We all paused and looked at Issei, who was down on his knees, looking at me with tears of blood running down his cheeks and hands clasped together in prayer. You are simply amazing, Issei. Teach me how to seduce women. For our brotherhood. For us poor fools that are bound to remain for the rest of our lives. Teach us. Needless to say, I refused. In the end we agreed to start Issei and Udo's training from next Sunday. Issei's training will consist of relearning karate from me and mastering divine dividing. Then I'll push him towards the balance breaker as much as I can until Tenon takes over. Udo's training will be more of a transformation because I'll be turning him into Emiya and push him into evolving his sword birth. Hopefully, his balance breaker will be Emiya's reality marble. To make this successful, I'll be shoving everything I know about both Emiya and Gilgamesh into his skull. Since their training will be starting next week, Issei will be distributing the pamphlets this week. I've asked Udo to watch every scene of Emiya and Gilgamesh on YouTube. Though, I'm worried that he will end up destroying his TV after seeing Artoria using Excalibur on Medusa. Maybe I'll shove the idea of Excalibur Morgan into his head later. Seems plausible enough. You know I spoke up entering an abandoned warehouse. You're not doing a good job at hiding yourself. TCH. So you noticed. Donasik stepped out from the shadows, forming 2 light spears in his hands. I had half a guess he would do this, that's why I didn't kill him last night. And the rats you brought as well. I had sensed the presence of 25 fallen angels in this town 2 hours ago, after returning home from the lunch Issei and I had with the orc. I had sent Grim, my panther familiar, to see where they were. Grim had reported that they were using one of the abandoned warehouses in the outskirts of the town, and I headed there after evening. I didn't inform Issei about it, because if I did then he would have informed Tomato and Co., then dragged them in, ruining my fun. You see I'm a bit of a battle maniac. I enjoy a good fight, and these 25 fallen angels will be the ones to provide me with it. Rest in pieces, nameless fallen angels. You're a cocky one, ain't you, shorty? A big and burly fallen angel came under the moonlight standing beside Donaseek, proudly displaying his 4 wings. I'm not cocky if I can back up my claims. The fallen angel created a large javelin of light. Then showed. Donaseek stepped to the side and let Mr. Burly dash at me. I watched in boredom as the fallen covered the distance between us at an agonizingly slow pace. Once he was right above me, he brought down his javelin on me. Now die. I let the javelin land on my shoulder and looked the large fallen in the eyes, taking minor satisfaction at seeing the shock and confusion that filled his eyes. That's it? I asked, grabbing onto the light javelin with my thumb and index finger. One major advantage of being Epic's host is that I have complete immunity to light despite being a devil. This isn't impressive. I've killed several 2-winged fallens with light spears or swords more intense than yours. Shatter. With the slightest of squeezes, I shattered the light javelin and punched him in the solar plexus. Mr. Burly doubled over my fist before shooting backwards, destroying a wall as he crashed outside through it. He won't be getting up after that. I had coated my fist in Kai at the last second before punching him. I've damaged his very soul, so even if he stands up, he'll die soon after. Next. Take this. I stepped to the side, dodging an attack from the second fallen, before side kicking him into a third one. My hand shot to my left, choking an invisible fourth fallen. You're a mongrel, aren't you? The fourth fallen's invisibility wore off. Wah Greek. You're a human fallen hybrid born with a sacred gear. That makes you a mongrel. Do you know what a mongrel is? I backhanded a fifth fallen before grabbing a sixth one to slam him into the seventh fallen that tried to sneak up on me. And no, even though I told you moments ago. It means a mutt born of mixed descent. Wah. Sleep. Crack. I snapped his neck and then used him as a flail to beat up the fifth, sixth and seventh fallen, leaving them in a gory mess. I tilted my head and let a needle-thin light spear pass through the place my head was. I waved my hand and turned the eighth fallen into an ice statue. I'll hand it to him, creating a light spear as thin as a needle isn't easy. Unfortunately for him, I'm too aware of my surroundings to miss it. Don't bother trying. I told Donaseek as I punched a hole through the ninth fallen, his innards and bone shards hitting the 10th fallen behind him, giving me the chance to kick him between the legs, reducing his jewels to a bloody mess. I've placed a barrier that will prevent anyone from entering or leaving the place. You can't even call for backup as it is now. So I covered the distance between the two of us and grabbed his arm. Don't try to run away, okay? You. Snap. Kravik. Crunch. Erg. Donaseek screamed in pain, clutching the disfigured mess that I turned his left arm into. Now, don't scream so loud. No one will hear you. I stabbed the 11th fallen with an ice spear before using him to hit the 12th fallen. I stepped on the 12th fallen's head and crushed his skull with a sickening crunch. Think. All these fallen angels, your kin, your brethren are dying because you were too much of a coward to face me alone. You've done a great job in reducing your kin's numbers for heaven and underworld. I elbowed the 13th fallen in the face and then backhanded him into the 14th and 15th fallen consecutively. Just who are you? Donaseek gritted out. Who? Me? I pointed at myself with a silly grin as I plunged my fingers into the 16th fallen's chest before frying him inside out. All of my 8 wings popped out of my back and 6 wrapped themselves around 17th to 22nd fallen angels and snapped their necks, instantly killing them. I am Issei Haidu, Queen of SERAFELL Leviathan. And say I'm pleased to meet you considering what you and Rainer had planned for my brother. I absolutely relished the terror that Donaseek felt. Why, you are the Leviathan's queen. I kindly smiled at him. I did introduce myself in that manner, no. I glanced at the remaining 3 fallens including Donaseek, all of them staring at me in terror. Do you see what you did in Donaseek? You brought several of your own kin to their death, albeit it was unknowingly. I don't blame you really. If I had introduced myself as SERAFELL Leviathan's queen last night, then you wouldn't have thought about showing up tonight. Right. Donaseek hesitantly nodded. I know the kind of man you are, and I also know how to make you dance on my palm. I patted his shoulder and glanced at the remaining fallens that were trembling in their boots. You see, Donaseek, from the very beginning I knew when you and Rainer came to the town what your intention was and who your target was. All I needed to do was wait for the right time, and then I picked up a shard of iron and crushed it in my palm. Crush you. The fallen angels whimpered, and I laughed uproariously like those comic book supervillains, making one of them piss on spot. Tell me, Donaseek, do you know why I didn't introduce myself as the Leviathan's queen? I cruelly grinned down at him. I was bored. I wanted to kill, hunt and play with my prey. And unfortunately for you, I chose you as my prey. So I left you alive last night knowing that you would do this. And you did not disappoint me, my dear fallen angel. I shot an ice spear through the skull of 23rd Fallen, making Donasek flinch and the last one to scream and beg for mercy. Remember a year ago when several of your six-winged fallen angels, ones that served Takeo, stationed in Florida disappeared? I spread my arms to the side and smiled. It was I who killed them. Though it was possible thanks to Azazel placing a bounty on them and SERAFELL volunteering to let me deal with them. But. I crouched down to Donasek's level and frowned at him. You are not my real prey. Takeo is. Wah. Clairvoyance is a pain, you know. I lied through my teeth. But at the same time, it's so handy. That is how I knew everything. And now you'll die. Thank you for your service. Drawing a magic circle that Epis taught me beside him, I stood up and hopped away leaving two crumbling ice statues. I walked home feeling lighter than usual, with a large grin plastered on my face as the warehouse and everything in a radius of 200 meters burned down to non-existence. Job well done. Vali Lucifer watched from far away atop a telephone pole as the boy named Issei Haidu walked away from the burning warehouse looking jolly and self-satisfied. He had been spying on his rival, the current White Dragon Emperor. What he saw had disappointed him to no end. An utter pervert obsessed with the female body. His parents weren't anything special either, normal parents with not even an ounce of mana in them, or magical history for that matter. The same being applied to their eldest son, who had the unfortunate luck to be his rival. He had almost lost hope of a good fight, but then the youngest child showed up. At only 15 years of age, he already had 8 wings after serving SERAFELL Leviathan as her queen for 2 years. Normally, the number of wings tell what class a devil falls into. 4 to 6 wings meant that they are mid-class devils, 8 wings meant high-class devils. But Issei Haidu? That didn't apply to him. Vali can already sense the immense reserves of demonic power that the younger Haidu has, easily on par with a weak ultimate class devil. Yet he had only 8 wings. Unbelievable. He should have at least 10 wings. Perhaps he was hiding his true power. If so, then why? What's the use and benefit of doing so? Vali's thoughts came to an abrupt halt as the tip of a nondescript sword touched his neck. Don't you know that it's rude to spy on others? When did he? Vali glanced at the person holding the tip of the sword at his neck, lo and behold, it's the same person he was just thinking about, smiling innocently, as if he wasn't holding a sword on his neck ready to kill. Leviathan's queen. He greeted in return with a name only a few knew of. It's quite unbecoming of the current Red Dragon Emperor to spy on others, you know. So he knows. Then again, you're that rat Rizavim's grandchild. So I'm not surprised. A look of rage crossed his face before vanishing when the tip of the sword slightly dug into his neck. Tut tut. Don't be a bad boy, Vali Lucifer. Your great-grandfather would have been disappointed, you know. I'm sure he's already rolling in his grave with how his son and your father turned out to be. Vali calmed down and Issei removed the sword from his neck. I was merely scouting my rival's progress. And you're disappointed to say the least. Yes. It's unfortunate that you aren't my rival. If you were, then our clash would have been the most epic one in history. I'm aware. Maybe we would have done the same amount of damage Drake and Albion had done during the Great War. He shrugged. Regardless, I'm rather happy with what I have. I don't want a fire-breathing winged lizard in my soul. What was that, you brat? And there he is. Speak of the lizard and ye shall come. Wasn't it devil? Hey. Do you even remember why you and Albion started fighting each other? Of course I do. What do you think I am? Vali suppressed a shudder at the shark-like grin that settled on Issei's face. Oh really? What was the reason then? Why should I tell you? You're not even my host. So he actually forgot. Issei giggled. Haha, I knew it. You and Albion both forgot why you were fighting, didn't you? How cute. Vali, murder him. Murder him right here and now. If Yufu may be another day. The younger Haidu looked at his watchless wrist. It's already getting late enough as it is. If I don't return home now, I might get into trouble. So you're running away? HMPH. I didn't take you for a coward. I never said that, did I? I only told you to hold it off, maybe until the Golden Week. That time I won't have school, so can we find a good place to dish it out? What do you think of Vali Lucifer? HMPH. I'll think about it. Vali. Hush, Dreg. I have no interest in fighting him now. He may have taken down several fallen angels, but all of them were weak. I'd rather gather more intel on him first than fight. He's not like his brother. He knew that I've been spying on his brother. Besides, Azazel had told him to lie low and not cause any trouble for him. Moreover, Issei knows who he is, regardless of whether it's about him being the Red Dragon Emperor or Lucifer. Information is power, and in this case, Issei is the one with power. Not to mention the sheer confidence he had displayed, as if it didn't matter that Vali was the Red Dragon Emperor. Fine. Okie dokie. Have a good night. Ciao. With that, the younger Haidu blurred away, returning home. Maybe I'll send Kuroka to keep an eye on him. Who would have thought I'd meet the edgelord so soon? From what I can recall, Vali had already stalked Issei in canon to find out more about the latter, but I didn't think it would be now, but sometime before Excalibur arc. The fact that he did it now means that Azazel probably knew about Issei possessing divine dividing from the beginning and told Vali about it. Let's see, Issei has become a devil, thankfully this time without dying. Before that I've dealt with Rainer's group right in front of Gremory Peerage and Issei himself. Next is. I can't help but want to bash my skull into a wall now. Reynard's gone, Issei and her date never happened, Issei didn't die but became a devil nevertheless. Now at one glance one would say there's no problem in everything that has happened so far, but I say nay. There's one big glaring problem. With Rainer gone, Asia won't be here. That means Issei and Asia's ships will not sail. For all I know she is dead. I mean it's not like Kuo is the only place where Rainer and co. can extract Asia's sacred gear, they can also do it in another town and kill her. And if they do, then Diodor will jump in and save Asia, then do whatever he wants to her. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the Hikori Takeo for writing that awesome fanfic and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.